Swatika, good afternoon, teacher, Dr.
Good
Connors,
afternoon.
and all of you guys who are watching this video. We are in the Light of Hope podcast, the podcast from Tang Tham College that will lead you through some kind of information, the interesting one as well. And today is actually be my honor to welcome our guest. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, my name is Dr. Connors or John McConville. My given name is John, but my nickname is Connors. I have a PhD in the philosophy of East West psychology, and I'm also a licensed marriage and family therapist. And presently, I am teaching at Xavier Learning Community as well as uh, Sang Tam College Chiang Rai campus. So, and I also teach the Xavier Immersion Program
Hmm.
as well. So I'm in all three programs.
Yeah, somehow you are a variable person, so you have to teach them more, right? Yes, and the topic of today would be psychology and emotions. I personally chose this topic because I last time when I used to be in Chiang Rai, I have the experience to talk with Dr. Connor, and I get some kind of interesting perspective about psychology, which later I actually interesting it very much as well. So now today we have opportunity to talk to him now. So let's start with the first question, shall we?
Yes.
The first question would be, what is emotion? What do you think about this emotion? What is it?
Well, emotions are categories of energy that we feel in our bodies, and we experience them as energetic vibrations. They're not things outside of us. They're experiences within us. So we have to make a distinction because we can't find anger out in the world unless you look at people, other people. But even then, we're not sure. It's not a thing that roams around the planet. It's experiences within our bodies, and they're elusive. They come and they go. And so you can tell you're having an emotion if you feel something like excitement or joy, if you feel anxiety or fear, if you feel delight or pleasure, if you feel peace and restfulness. So uh, these are what we call emotions. Uh, when we have feelings in our bodies, we're feeling the vibration, but they're not necessarily the emotion. Our mind tells us, oh, I'm having an emotion. It's interesting because we experience emotions biologically in the hippocampus and the amygdala of the brain, and it travels to the thalamus, and the thalamus sends the energy back up to the cerebral cortex, and the cerebral cortex says, oh, that vibration is here. But it all happens in a microsecond. Uh, it happens very fast. The other thing I want to say about emotions is they are not who we are, they are experiences of ourselves. So sometimes people say, oh, he's an angry person,
Hmm.
or she is always anxious. She's an anxious person. Well, the truth is, uh, they're not an angry person, they're a person who is experiencing anger at this moment. She is a person who is experiencing anxiety at this moment. So, why I'm emphasizing this is that we identify with our emotions. Oh, that's me. And because it's me, I have to act, and I have to act in this way. So, in some ways, our emotions hold us captive, like we're prisoners of our emotions. But we can also be free. We can say, oh, that's the emotion I'm having. How am I going to respond? So these are some thoughts about what an emotion is.
What you said before that, I like the word you said that emotions is just some kind of vibration. It doesn't mean that we are that person. If we sense some kind of angry, doesn't mean that we are an angry person. We just
Yeah.
are a person who have experience with angry. Because sometimes when life growing,
Uh-huh.
sometimes we are judged by people around. Oh, you are bad. You are angry. You are selfish. And what you said give me some kind of another perspective about how can we look to people.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad that, yeah, that's true. Uh, one of the interesting things about emotions is that sometimes what we're feeling is not really ours. That is, if let's say we're listening to a friend that we like very much and they're very sad, we may walk away feeling very sad, but it's their sadness, not ours. And so sometimes we have a hard time drawing a boundary. This is me over here, and this is my friend over there. you know, I think sometimes we get so caught up in the emotion of another person that we think that is our emotion.
So is that so? Can I say like this that if I am talking to someone who have sad emotion, if I don't have like good boundaries, that sad emotion can transfer to my emotions.
Well, yes, in some ways it can. It's like we think we're sad too,
Mm.
and we may be sad. It's not that we're not, but uh, we can take on a lot of other people's emotions uh, to the point where we don't feel our own. And I think people who are helpers in general, people who like to help other people, who identify with the role of helping, uh, will oftentimes think that someone's sadness is my sadness. And I think it leads us to actions, perhaps, that are not helpful for ourselves. For instance, as a therapist, I listen to people who have sadness in their life, who feel sadness, who experience sadness. And I can listen to their sadness and empathize with them. Uh, but I don't, if I walk away feeling their sadness, I really can't see any other person. I really can't
Mm.
help anybody else, you know.
Yes.
And I think it's really healthy because even the hardest place to keep boundaries is with family members, with mother or father or brother or sister or a cousin that we really like, perhaps, or we really don't like. Uh, it comes about where uh, you go home and suddenly you feel like you did when you were a child, you know? And it's like, okay, that's not me anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So you said that you have talked to many people because actually you are a therapist, but you said about you have talked to many people who are affected by emotions. Can you give us some information about it? How can us human got affected by emotions? What causes or there's some kind of things situation that will ignite these emotions?
Well, there is a biological explanation. And since I'm not a biologist, I won't go into the full explanation. But we do have the hippocampus and the amygdala, which is in the center of our brain. If you look at our ears, it's right inside. So you can't really touch it or see it. Like you can touch the skull where the neocortex is, or you can touch the occipital ridge where the base of the spine is, the beginning of the spine. Uh, but you can't touch the amygdala or the hippocampus. But there is a process by which the emotions are. energetic fields, like little neurons in the brain that travel through the thalamus to the neocortex, where we recognize the emotion. So that's just a biological thing, and everybody has emotions, even if they say they don't. Uh, uh, we all have emotions. We're human beings, and that's part of our biological process. Some people learn their emotions very fast and early in life. And some people will say, I've never learned what my emotions are, and I have a hard time expressing my emotions. Uh, and I do work with people on both scales, like some people who overreact and some people who underreact. And a lot of times, by talking about it and maybe by doing some simple movement exercises, people learn to experience what they're feeling or learn to tame or what they're feeling so they are not overrun by their emotional life. And so part of my work is really listening to what people are feeling or experiencing, identifying the emotion, and learning how to uh, to step back a bit. So when I say step back a bit, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the philosopher Aristotle, or you may have heard of St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, a great theologian, and he is called an Aristotelian, someone who's been influenced by Aristotle's philosophy. But one thing that Aristotle has said, and Thomas Aquinas also mimics these words, is a person is someone who can see himself seeing or see themselves seeing. That is, they're able to step back and look at themselves. Uh, an animal can't step back and look at and say, "Oh, that's me. That's I'm a dog."
Mm.
But a person can step back and say, "Oh, that's me. And when I was talking to that person, I was feeling really happy."
Mm.
Or, "Oh, I reacted very strongly to what that person said." We can look at ourselves and reflect. Uh, and so, uh, if we learn the skill of reflection, uh, stepping back from ourselves and not identifying with the emotion, we can learn how we can choose how we want to react. But this is what the Buddha would call skillful means.
Mm.
We we uh, we need to be skillful in how we choose to respond to these energetic feelings within us. Such as, if I'm really anxious about something and it takes over my life and I can't do anything else, then in a sense, we're a prisoner of the emotion. So one of the things I do is learn how to pause between the experience of feeling and the reaction.
Mm.
So
Oh.
it's sometimes people say, "Oh, I just respond. It's my emotion, so I just respond." And I say, "Yes, it is the emotion you're experiencing, and you do respond, but you have another choice. You don't have to slap the person, or you don't have to take out a gun and shoot them. You don't have to do something that's cruel to another person or to yourself. You can choose to do something else, but you need just a mini second where you can stop and say, "Okay, I know if I start getting angry with this person, it's just going to make me more angry and they're not going to listen. So why do it? I can step back, take a break, and then find another way of talking to them in order to understand what I need and what they need.
Sometimes I actually have some kind of experiences. I think I step back from the emotion that is going to come in. But sometimes I feel like I am running from it. I escape it. Like not step back, but running back. And actually sometimes I am fast to react. I mean, this make me remind of one of the phrase, the sentence from the praise. They said, slow to anger. Yes, which is I think it's related to topic because it's not only about the anger, it's about the emotion. We slow to react. We know the essence. Because sometimes I think when someone, I'm not sure if it's true or not, when someone not expressing their emotion, maybe they are strong, they are got some kind of strong emotions, but sometimes they just depress their emotions.
Well, I think let's just start with the first thing about running away, because that is a reaction. And somehow it's a way that we avoid feeling too deeply or being too exposed, like overexposed, uh, and feeling like uh, that we don't want people to know us that much. You know, we want to hide a bit of ourselves. And it's true that I think extroverts and introverts are different that way. Extroverts don't seem to mind being exposed, where introverts feel like it's too much.
Mm.
And running away is a survival technique. You know, sometimes we feel like if we express our emotions, then we're going to die, or we're not going to know who we really are, or we're going to do something that we can't control. Uh, and so it's a survival method, and really, it's not something to be embarrassed about or bad. It's just a way we try to survive in the world. But what happens is that it becomes the only way we react. I mean, let's take an example of love. A man loves a woman loves a man, but they're not sure that each other love them. And they want to express their feelings, but they're a little afraid to say it because they want to be friends, and they'll be embarrassed if the other person doesn't love them or doesn't feel for them the way they feel. And so instead of expressing what they're feeling, they keep it at a distance, or they keep it secret, or they run away from the person. If they express their emotions, they just feel like it's too much and they run away, or they. In each of these cases, the person may never have a chance to connect with another.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we have to risk it when it comes to feeling emotionally connected to another person, when it feels like we have a lot of feelings of like and warmth towards someone. We want to express it, but we're just afraid that it might ruin the friendship, or we might feel too exposed. In those cases, it's good to look at it and to see, okay, what are my options? And if I feel like it's really important and you talk to someone about it, I'd like to let this person know that I really care for them. And then you're willing to risk whatever it is that comes about as a result. Then I think it's really courageous. And I think it's a gift to yourself and to the other to let them know what you're feeling. It's kind of how we grow up, you know?
It's like that's how we're growing up, right? Yeah. That's how life is, right? How life is working. Yeah. Yeah. And for the last question, now we know what is emotion, how can they affect us, yeah, which is you're talking about some kind of brain working, the emotions, the depressions, running, stepping back, and etc. But now, lastly, the last question would be, how can we deal with it? How can we deal with these emotions?
Well, I think I'm reminded of the poem by Rumi, The Guest House. And you may want you and your listeners to look up this poem. I can't recite it uh, word for word, but the guest house refers to your own body, and your emotions knock on the door. And instead of telling them to go away, you invite them all in one by one, saying welcome. And you can welcome them even laughing. The sadness, the anxiousness, the fear, the disillusion, the depression. Welcome them. Come on in. It's okay. These are all good things, and you're all welcome here. And by welcoming your emotions, you also, in a sense, tame them. Because once an emotion knows that it's okay to be here, then they're not going to bother you too much. They're going to feel like, okay. It's like a person is afraid to come to your house and you say, oh, come on in, have a beer, sit down, let's have some conversation. Do you want some food? They feel relaxed and comfortable, you know,
Uh,
and they don't bother you so much. You make that into a enjoyable experience. So it's really a compassionate way of being with your emotions. And this is also something that the Buddha says. And also, it's interesting because uh, the teachings of Jesus, you know, if you listen to his proverbs, he's a very welcoming being. He welcomes people into his presence or into his life. Uh, and certainly, Christians would like to think of themselves as welcoming. But anyway, uh, one thing is not to be afraid of emotions.
mm,
You know, okay, I have emotions. The second thing is that uh, we have to have a way of expressing emotions. So if you're really angry, you know that in many ways you have to settle down before you actually approach. If you're angry at somebody, you can't. If you go with them with all your anger, it's just going to make things worse instead of better. So you kind of have your knowledge. Okay, I, I have to settle down first
mm,
and find a better way of responding or the best way of responding. So as I said earlier, we find skillful means to deal with our emotions or to express our emotions. One emotion that's usually we can express very readily is happiness,
mm,
and it's mainly because people love to experience the happiness of others as well, and it makes them happy too. And it's such a pleasurable emotion uh, that it's something that we're not too afraid of expressing immediately. But every emotion that we have wants to be expressed. And so we think, okay, what's the best way? And sometimes if you're an artist, it's a great way to express your emotion. If you're a sports person, uh, get out and take a run or play football, soccer, or basketball or something, badminton, some energetic thing that you can kind of do a lot of thrusting.
yeah, yeah.
There are so many ways that we can express our emotions. So it's really important to express the emotions. Sometimes, and this is something I said to you earlier, sometimes if we're busy, like for me, if I'm teaching a class or if I'm working with a client, or if I'm doing some other project that has to get done and I have a really strong emotion, I will say to the emotion, like I would say to a child, uh, I know you're there. Uh, I know what you're telling me. And I want you to know that I'll pay attention to you. I just don't have the time right now. But if you wait maybe a half hour, I'll come back to you and I'll figure out what you're trying to tell me. So it's like we're talking
Mm.
to our emotions. And in some ways, that has a really kind of calming effect on the body. It's like a child, when the child hears, oh, yes, mom's going to take care of you pretty soon, they're okay. They can go
Mm.
and play with the toy, and then mom will come and say, okay, what can I do for you? I think sometimes, that one of the best ways to deal with emotions is talking to a friend, saying, this is what
Mm.
I'm feeling. It can be very helpful. That's my answer so far.
That's amazing actually. With some kind of analogy that compare your emotions to be like a child, like a mother to the child. She is reminded of my mother when she treat me when I was angry, when I want something, a new toys, and she calm me down. You said that we need to settle ourselves and step back, like you are the host of the house, and
Yes.
welcome the emotion one by one, which is nice try, by the way, nice try. Like we are the host, maybe they will like เกรงใจ and not try in English a little
Right.
bit. Yes, and if we have some kind of comfort them
Right.
all in our home as well. Wow, that's a very 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 good suggestions. I think the time is running out, so that's how life works, right? Happiness usually goes
Okay.
fast. So I would like to say
Yes, it does.
thank you to Dr. Connor, our honor guest as well, for his sharings. And if you interest in our contents, you can comment in this video. So what are you curious about, or what do you think, what do you feel about this content as well? And maybe if you have some kind of problems dealing with emotions, you can ask to or talk to your friends as well. Or if you think you can't handle it well, you can talk to some kind of psychologist, maybe Dr. Connor, one of them as well. If you want to.
Or you can talk to Jericho now that he's a specialist.
Oh, really? On which part? On which part? Thank you so much, teacher. It's actually my honorable to talk to you as well. And it's good to talk to you. Actually, it's always good to talk to you because of the way you express, the hardworking of your intentions, your listening is quite good. For me personally, I would like to encourage you. Some people like you, psychologists, maybe the nurse, the doctor, who are working with helping people, especially for psychologists, they are helping the mental health of the people, which is for me is good. And nowadays we're having some kind of this problem very much, and we need someone who can heal it, who can give some kind of suggestions,
Yeah.
which is very important. And I'm so proud of you, especially, and of everyone who trying to do something like this to everyone. So say thank you for that.
Well, it's a great pleasure to talk to you, Jericho, and I wish you all the best. And this should not be our last conversation, but maybe our first.
Yes, I hope so too, teacher. And that's it for today. Make sure you get subscribed. Make sure you comment. If you want something, you want to know more, you can comment down below. And I hope you enjoy our contents and you want to know what is the next episode would be, you can subscribe us and waiting for us for our new content as well. And me and the Light Up Hope podcast and Dr. Connor, we have to say goodbye now. Thank you for watching and see you guys in next video. Thank you.
Goodbye now.
Goodbye. Goodbye now. Yeah.